think about. My Gayle's got something to talk about.
Hello to you, I'm Gayle King. In the next 15 minutes, listen to that number, the next 15 minutes, a woman will be battered and abused. It's in the headlines, you know, every day. This is the Washington Post, but it could be any paper. From the Chicago Tribune, where a man is charged with assault after he allegedly chased his wife with a claw hammer. To the story out of Texas, where a woman awakes in a bed of flames set by her husband. Domestic violence stories make headlines every day in nearly every city in this country. And in Virginia right now, the story of a rich heiress and her polo player boyfriend has made national news after it took a deadly turn. The story unfolded here behind the walls of this 300-acre estate in rich Virginia horse country. 35-year-old Suzanne Cummings, born in France to the world's wealthiest international arms merchant, appeared to have it all. Last year, she fell in love with Roberto Villegas, a handsome polo champion. She bought him ponies and they lived the jet-set life. There was even talk of marriage. To the outside world, their lives appeared charmed. Then in early September, he was found dead on the kitchen floor.
Sunday, September the 7th, we received a phone call. The caller advised us that there had been a shooting at her residence, which was Ashland Farm. The initial investigation revealed that we had a male that was deceased at the scene as a result of multiple gunshot wounds. Later on that morning, approximately 2 hours later, we arrested Miss Cummings and charged her under Virginia Code with murder.
Cummings' lawyer Blair Howard is not denying that she shot Villegas, but in her bond hearing he says that she was being held, that there are marks and abrasions and wounds to her body, that she was being attacked in her own home.
This case would fit into a profile of a domestic abuse type of case if it's proven to be such in the end.
There are reports that Cummings made several appointments with the police department and on one occasion allegedly asked about obtaining a restraining order against Villegas. In fact, she had another appointment to meet with police the day after the shooting.
It's a tragic incident that has occurred. These are two people that have known one another. One of them is now dead and one of them has been charged with murder. That in itself is very tragic.
Very tragic. 4 out of 5 assaults committed against women are perpetrated by someone known to the victim. 29% of those are committed by the intimates. That means the boyfriends, the former boyfriends, the husbands, or the former husbands. In Michael Mahoney's case, the intimate was his father, Michael Mahoney Sr. His mother and father's marriage started out like a fairy tale romance. Dad was a football player, and Mom was the homecoming queen. But for as long as Michael can remember, his mother was a victim of abuse. Michael and Mrs. Mahoney, thank you both for joining us today. I read about your story in Good Housekeeping, and I was so touched by both of you, but especially you. I was very, very touched by you because you're the son, and I want you to sort of walk us through what has happened in your life. Tell us what it was like growing up in the home with your mom and your dad, what you saw.
Well, from as early as I can remember, there was violence and abuse in my household, not just physical violence or abuse, but verbal and mental as well.
How many siblings do you have? How many kids are there?
There are 6 altogether. I was the only child until I was 12, and then had 5 more. So the youngest now is 7. Many nights, and usually once or several times a week, I would wake up during the night and hear what was going on.
What did you hear exactly?
I would hear my father screaming. I would hear him hitting my mother, kicking her. Usually in their room, and I would be in my room, but I could hear what was going on for hours. And
did you think this was a normal thing, Michael? Did you think, well, this is just, you know, how people, mom and dad, are having a fight?
I knew it was wrong, but I didn't realize at the time how common it was in other households, and so I never told my friends.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be different.
Did you feel that at any time I should do something about it, or did you just say nothing? And you get up after a night of that, you get up the next morning and you see your mom in the kitchen. What do you say? You act like you didn't hear it, or?
We weren't supposed to talk about it.
Right.
Dad made sure that was his #1 rule. Don't discuss what goes on inside the household and what goes on between Mom and him.
So at one point, the family moves to Saudi Arabia, your parents and all the children. moved to Saudi Arabia, which is interesting considering how you said that women are viewed in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, well, it reinforced, I think, for all of us, for Mom, the role that she was being asked to play or to fill there. I mean, in Saudi Arabia, they do have a very conservative Islamic society, and their women are veiled, and they're considered second-class citizens. They walk behind their husbands, and they're more property.
Why did you take the abuse for so long, Mrs. Mahoney?
I felt that I had to take it. I had to not talk about it. If I made it public, told anyone, then it would be my fault. I broke up the family, and I'd already...
You thought it would be your fault?
Yeah, it would be. I would be responsible for breaking up the family. And I had reached out to family members to help. I would run to their house, hide at their house, and they couldn't help me. They couldn't keep me away.
What happened that you finally said, okay, I've had enough, I deserve better, I'm getting out of here? What happened?
It took my 13-year-old daughter trying to kill herself by, she swallowed 98 ibuprofen tablets at noon, and she just wanted out.
Because she didn't like living this way in this, very turbulent household.
Yes, and so she was in intensive care, but he took me home from the hospital, and he literally beat me all night. And I was in...
What?
He said it was my fault that she did this.
So when your mom calls and says, we're coming, now you're back in the States, you're a bachelor now, kind of living it up, I would imagine, because you're a good-looking guy. You're living it up, and your mom says, I'm coming home with your siblings, and we're going to live with you?
She called and said that she had gone to the clinic, that she had been very badly beaten, and that she had to make a change. And we talked, and she said she was coming home. And she had nowhere to go. She came home with a small amount of cash and 12 suitcases and 5 kids.
Right.
So I told her that I would take care of her. Come to me.
And you did?
That was 2 years ago.
And you did that because you moved out of the home with the roommates?
Yes, we had to move in. We started out in a 2-room condominium, all, I guess, 7 of us.
So you end up supporting everybody?
Yes, effectively. She was on food stamps for a government assistance charity. I mean, no means of support. And so I couldn't afford to help her and have my own household, so we moved in together.
I mean, and you had gone from what I believe was an upper middle class lifestyle to on food stamps and now relying on your son.
Yes.
Yeah. So tell me what that was like for you.
It really tore me up. The part that I had always been so scared of actually leaving him, because how could I support the family? He had always threatened me, told me I would never get a dime from him. He would never do anything for me. He would kill me, threatened me with being another Nicole Brown Simpson. So dealing with the fear, the fear for our lives, and trying to deal with all the needs of the children, and then having to turn to Michael for help. But at the same time, he and I have always been so close.
Yeah. I mean, we should say, too, that we asked your dad to come today, and he declined. He says that you're exaggerating a bit about the abuse that went on, that it wasn't really as bad as both of you were saying that it is. He deflects the blame. I think it's, as I've learned, I mean, those are classic, or one of the classic signs of an abuser. He deflects blame onto others. He's told people it's my fault that Mom left him, that I told her to leave, and that if I hadn't told her that they would have been able to reconcile. Together.
And that hurts. That hurts to see that he's still in complete denial, and he wants, even now, after what it's done to our family, that he can't try to do better, do what's right, try to do something for the children.
Why do women stay in an abusive relationship? Even more to the point, why do men abuse, and what can we do about that? Some answers to those questions when we come back. Continue with Michael and his mom, Jeanne, because I don't think people have a full sense of exactly what you've done. Because what struck me about reading your story in Good Housekeeping was that you called your mom your hero. And I would think that she would call you the hero. She may, but it struck me that you refer to your mother as your hero because what?
My mom is my hero because I knew her most of my life as a victim, and she went from, as a victim, she lost one of my siblings when she was pregnant. My dad hit her in the stomach, and she lost a child.
You saw that?
Yes, I saw that.
How old were you then?
I was 11.
Okay. So
And
you saw that happen.
I saw that. I saw her another day. She tried to leave. She woke me in the morning before school. My dad had gone to work. She said, we're leaving. I've got tickets, air tickets, so I packed the suitcases, let's go. I convinced her that if she called him, brought him home, and showed him what was about to happen, that maybe he would see that and it would motivate him to change. And that day he beat her for about six or 8 hours, and she ended up in the hospital. He held her face to a burner over a hot stove. He held her head underwater.
Yeah.
She had very long hair at the time. He slammed her head, grabbed her hair and slammed her head into a brick fireplace.
All in front of the kids.
Yeah, I saw this all day.
And didn't you feel badly about that? Because you're thinking, if only I hadn't told her, if only I hadn't told her to stay.
Yes, I felt very guilty about it, and I wanted to be able to do something. And to me, being able to take care of the family now is that chance to do something I couldn't do as a young boy. I mean, I'll take care of him for as long as I need to, and I'm glad to do it.
Yeah. I'm very touched by you. We are talking about domestic violence and the toll that it can have on a family. Jeanne Mahoney, did I say Catania right? I was practicing all day, has worked with battered women for over 15 years, and she says that women stay in violent relationships because they feel the risk of leaving greatly outweighs the risk of staying. And I think that's what many people can't understand. Why would you live a life like that when you ought to just leave? You know, it's a story we hear over and over and over again, but many people still don't get it.
You know, when we ask women, what would you like to see happen? Often their answer is, we would like the violence to stop. And so they might not want to leave the relationship. They might want to get help for him. They might want to get help for the family, for the children. Many women do eventually leave, but the idea of leaving right away is very hard. Jeanne mentioned earlier that she used to think to herself, how will I support 6 children on my own? That's a reality for women. How will they support those children?
Well, Michael, as someone who has seen it firsthand, what do you think it's going to take? Because your mother took it for many years. What do you think it's going to take?
I think education helps. I think if Mom and I had heard from someone else and been educated about abuse and signs of domestic violence and where to seek help, I think that would have made a big difference for us.
And I think, Gayle, more than getting education out to the women, that we need to start saying, who are these men? And why are they battering the women?
That's what I want to know. Why do they abuse?
Because they can. Because the power, they're raised to have power and control in their relationship. It sounds like in your relationship, your husband wanted to control everything in the family. And so they have this need for control. They use the violence to maintain that control.
And you think it's very important that families or women have safety plans?
They have to have safety plans.
Can you just give us a couple of them?
Well, the women who leave, we've always had the leaving safety plans. You know, go to shelters, call hotlines, get help from friends and family.
But the
staying plans are the kinds of plans that these folks have talked about. What to do if he gets violent, what to do, where to get support. A lot of women talk about what they needed while they were there more than anything else was support from family and friends. People that said, I know you're there, I know you're living through this, what can I do to help? You know, sometimes providing respite for women who are living in violent relationships, either taking their kids for a weekend. A lot of women send their children to grandma's for the weekend. When they know he's going to be particularly violent, they might ask somebody else to come over to the house and stay. Women are planning and strategizing all the time they're in the relationships.
When we come back, we'll introduce you to a woman who has moved past her abuse and traveled down the road to recovery thanks in part to the help of her plastic surgeon. We'll be right back. We are talking today about the lasting scars of domestic violence. This was Helen Lukatich early this year after 24 years of spousal abuse. Now this is Helen today, after she was given a new identity and thus started a new beginning with the help of Dr. Lori Hansen, who joins us in our studio. Dr. Hansen is an Oklahoma City plastic surgeon who helps women make the transformation back to a healthy sense of self-worth. Today, Helen comes to us via satellite. She's in Texas. Hello to you, Helen.
Hi.
Hi. Hi, you look good.
Thanks.
Describe for me your marriage, if you don't mind.
Very abusive, very cruel. As I told Dr. Hansen, I felt he took part of my life and destroyed it, and I'm just trying to regain it back.
Why did you finally get the courage to leave after 24 years? What happened?
I was offered a job, an out, that they gave me an apartment, and that was my way of saying goodbye. I had a chance to get out. I had some security to look forward to.
Dr. Hansen, why do you do what you do for battered women?
Well, I'm a facial plastic and reconstructive surgeon, and I guess about 92, my husband and I, we were both Christians, and we wanted to do something to glorify the Lord and something to give back. And as we were thinking about the different people that could benefit from what I do, battered women were a perfect group, because most of them look at least 10 years older than their stated age. Most of them have facial scars and injuries, cigarette burns, broken bones, and most of them have really low self-worth and self-esteem. And those are all issues that I deal with every day with my regular public, but just not to this degree.
But tell people how much you charge.
Nothing.
That's what's so amazing about you. Don't you think she does this free of charge? Free of charge. It's funny because you're looking at me like, how much do I charge? I knew it was free, but that's what I think is such an incredible thing, because most plastic surgeons, as you know, I haven't had any facial work, but most of them are quite expensive. So it's an incredible thing that you do.
Well, the neat thing about this program is that we started in 92, and about 94, maybe 95, my larger Academy of Facial Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery took it over. I talked to the board. They thought it sounded like a good idea. They embraced it, and now we have a doctor in every state, probably 550, 600 doctors.
That does what you do?
That do this same surgery. We have an 800 number that has received 15,000 calls. In fact, that's how Helen found out about me.
How has this changed your life with the way that you look? See, we don't know too much about the way you looked before. We saw the brief before picture. But take us through how different you feel and how different you look in your eyes.
I felt like I was 75. I felt very old.
How old are you, if you don't mind? Helen, how old are you, if you don't mind saying?
I'm 45.
Wow, all right. You felt 75?
I felt and looked 75.
Okay. And how do you feel today, Miss Helen?
I feel wonderful.
Yeah. I would imagine that this helps greatly with their self-esteem. If you're 45 and you feel and look 75, you've got to feel pretty badly about yourself.
Well, as you know, our society judges by first impressions way more than it should, and certainly women. And if you're trying to get a job in the workplace today and you look old and you don't have skills, you can pretty much forget it. So the nicest thing Helen said to me, and I just thank the Lord that she's such a sweetheart, but after we were done, she said, you know, Lori, you gave me my smile back.
Oh,
and I just loved it. I was just so thankful for that. I mean, the encouragement to me.
I know. Now, don't you think it's sort of, it's very gratifying to do what you do, don't you think, when you hear things like that?
Oh, absolutely.
Helen, before you leave, I was going to say, let's see that smile that you got back.
And it's larger than life.
Oh, wow. All right, Helen, thanks. We'll be right back. United is proud to be the official carrier of the Gayle King Show, working toward a more professional travel experience. We're headed in a different direction. United Airlines rising. Our guests stay at the beautiful Avon Old Farms Hotel, Connecticut's most romantic wedding and dining facility. It's on the mountain in historic Avon, Connecticut.
Now you've got something to talk about.
If you've got questions or comments about our show, we would love to hear from you. You can call us toll-free at 1-888-99-GAYLE, or you can visit the website. The address, www.gayleking.com. Before we go, I have one more question for Michael. What is the status, what is the relationship with your dad like these days?
My dad and I have a very strained relationship, but I would like to say that I do love him. I would just like for him to make better decisions.
Domestic violence crosses all races, classes, and socio-economical lines. We really hope that we've given you some positive advice, she's trying to say. If you or someone you know is a victim, or maybe this is even more important, the cause of domestic violence. For more help regarding domestic violence, there is a number you can call. It is the National Domestic Violence Hotline. That number is 1-800-799-7233. Here it is one more time because this is important. 1-800-799-7233. That's our show for today. We'll see you next time. Take it easy. Okay, everybody, this is your assignment for tomorrow. Go through your garage, pick out the oldest, most useless thing there. It could be worth lots of money. Find out how to turn your trash into cash on the next Gayle King Show.
We've got something to talk about, something to think about, something to laugh about. Oh, we've got something to talk about. Now, Gayle's got something to talk about.